Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Andrew, and I'm so excited to have with us today. You may know him from his channel, The Social Dork, but I have Royden Blah. I'm so excited to have you on the channel, man. And my friends are going to laugh at me as always because names are my worst. But you are a cybersecurity manager in Australia, and I'm going to pass it to you for a short introduction.
How's it going, guys? My name is Royden from The Social Dork. Thanks for that introduction, Andrew. Super excited to be here. I've been in the cyber domain for a while now and love contributing to the cyber community through LinkedIn, YouTube, roadmaps, hands-on tutorials, and all of that stuff. So yeah, I've seen your work as well. So pretty excited. Love the stuff that you do in the community and looking forward to this chat.
No, me too. And so glad to get to have you on our series for breaking into cyber. And we will go ahead and hit you with our first question. So breaking into cybersecurity as we go on through the years back, I'm going to push us back to like first, second, third grade as we're maybe going through those processes of like, what do you want to be when you grow up? We're seeing career days and we say doctors and lawyers and astronauts and surfboarders or veterinarians. But obviously we got into cybersecurity and we're pretty darn good at it. So what was kind of your story of how you broke into cyber?
My story of breaking into cyber was actually very unintentional. So I moved to Australia for a master's degree and I had done my bachelor's in engineering, pretty much in electronics and telecommunication. So at the time when I was looking for a master's course, I was pretty set on doing something within the networking side of things. When I was moving to Australia, one of the degrees offered by the university that I really wanted to be enrolled in was networks and cybersecurity. So that is when I actually got exposure to cybersecurity, like computer security, software security, network security, cryptography standards, all of that amazing stuff. And funny enough, when I started working as well, I started working as a network engineer once I finished my master's degree.
Oh, nice.
But I think, yeah, but just general career progression along the years brought me into the network security domain and eventually into cybersecurity. And then everything that I learned about cybersecurity during my master's is what sort of kicked in, and it kind of all started to make sense. And I realized that, you know what, hey, this is a pretty interesting domain to be in. It's more specialized than network engineering, which a lot of people do speak about how it's getting obsolete. It's still very important, but it's not the coolest sort of domain out there on the block. So yeah, just natural career progression from what once started as a master's sort of degree decision has eventually put me into this position, and I'm really, really happy with it.
It's always funny, right? Because like whenever there's issues in like IT or cyber, it's like there's always the running joke like, oh, it's always DNS or it's always the network. And
yeah, it's always the network.
And I think you're right though, that like when it comes into like the most like we'll call it sexy or most like in demand jobs within cyber, not a lot of people I think probably veer toward the networking side of things. They want to be pen testers or GRC or SOC analysts. Would you say that there's a specific niche when it comes into the networking side of things? I know I've gone through many interviews. I've talked to many folks as well, where when it comes to your fundamentals, knowing how a network lays and how everything communicates, how everything travels is very important on kind of understanding, I think, cybersecurity to its roots.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I mean, I'm from that school of thought that the fundamentals before you actually get into cybersecurity is so crucial. And I usually talk about 3 domains, and I'm sure maybe you may think otherwise, or you may probably add another domain to it or remove one of these domains. But I just feel networking, databases, and operating systems, like these are the 3 things which are very important. And I do attribute understanding networking and knowing I wouldn't say depths of networking because I'm not like a master network engineer, but just knowing the core foundations of what makes a network and how 2 devices can communicate with each other. The need for cybersecurity comes into the picture because a lot of attacks are leveraged using the network. So just understanding that, I do attribute it to be around, let's say, one of the largest foundational domains that you must know before you get into cybersecurity. So which is why for anyone that's watching this video as well and, you know, thinking about getting into cybersecurity, getting to know what networking is and understanding that is pretty important. What do you think about networking or any foundational domains when breaking into cybersecurity?
So I think you hit the nail on the head because I think when a lot of folks, and I'm sure you get the same question when you're at a conference, you're at like maybe a meetup, and someone tells like, "Hey, I want to break into cybersecurity." The first question is, I usually ask them like, "Well, what do you want to do?" Because with each path comes, I think, some other slight fundamentals they need to understand or know. But
Mhm.
I think when it comes down to the nitty gritty, like knowing how a computer works, how a network kind of functions, or how you navigate through a network, how everything communicates to each other, and then the security aspect. Now, okay, well, now how do I secure all those avenues? To me, I think just like you said, are really strong fundamentals. And just like you said, not everyone is an SME. There's the network chucks and the John Hammonds of the world that do have that probably in-depth kind of knowledge in their
Yep.
domains, but they're still going to Google stuff. They're still going to ask Claude. They're still going to ask ChatGPT.
100%.
And I don't expect everybody to where it's like, hey, if I ask them to rattle off the OSI model or to walk me through a certain process where it's like, if they haven't touched it in a few days or a few weeks or a few months, they may not know it off the top of their head, but they know how to find the answer. So I usually tell people that just make sure that when they're elevating and moving up there in that career pipeline to that get to that next role, never be afraid to go back and hit your fundamentals and go check out the newest version of Security Plus. Go check out Network Plus. Go check out the basic systems and how things are changing and being updated. Because you and I both know that in the cybersecurity domain of work, things change within months. So it's like whether it's a new
Totally.
process or software or a vulnerability. So I think having that will to learn and that ability to research is huge within this field, which actually lines us perfectly for the next question is the three kind of golden chicken before the egg aspects of this. So we have certifications, education, experience. And I know you have some great videos on like home labs, entry level certification paths, but where do you rank those three and why?
Ooh, that's actually a pretty good question. Look, all three are important. Let's not move away from the fact that all three of these things contribute in some way or the other to help you break into cybersecurity. But
Mhm.
if I had to absolutely sort of rank them in terms of criticality or importance, I think the first thing that I would always put up there is, I mean, look, I know as a fresher, you don't have that hands-on experience of working in like a job or in a role, but yeah, hands-on experience through labs that you can build in your own spare and free time is probably the most important thing. After that, I would probably put in certifications over like a bachelor's or master's degree. And a lot of people may probably think that maybe this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, but I don't know. I just feel when it comes to cybersecurity and IT and these kind of fields, there are so many resources out there that can probably teach you in like 2 or 3 months a lot more than you can learn in a degree. Hence, I probably think some of the good industry recognized certifications. And look, I'll just quickly add a point here as well is that for certifications too, what I'm not trying to endorse is someone to just go out there and get like 5 or 6 different certifications because that's
Yeah.
not the way you do it. You've got to get the right. And look, these certs are expensive, man. Especially if you're a fresher, you're trying to break in, you've got to make sure you're doing the right certifications. Doing the right certifications would be number two. And then third, I would probably put degree, like that type of education. Probably number three, because most of the times these courses that are tailored by universities are still, I would say, getting obsolete. Not
Mhm.
all of them are refreshing their curriculum every couple of years. As
Yes.
you said, right, there's
Yep.
something new in cyber every time.
Nail on the head. I want to add on a few more things as you mentioned. So first
Yeah,
off,
go for
with
it.
the education piece, I think you're absolutely right. I'm sure we both know individuals in this field that have associate's degrees, maybe have a high school diploma or no degree at all, that are rock stars in their field because they're very good at what they do. And the way
Mm.
that that happened was probably the hands-on experience. They have that cybertism that we all probably have of whether a planes, trains, or dinosaurs kind of guy or gal, and we get into that kind of hyper focused learning and we can kind of just really we enjoy what we do. That's why we're doing what we're doing in cybersecurity. Then the certification piece of it too, exactly that. I do feel that certifications can be important, but whether you pass or fail that certification, my biggest takeaway is that you actually retained or gained something out of the training because
100%.
just like you said, like most folks like SANS certifications, organizations love them. It's a great foundation, great knowledge, but they're so expensive. My takeaway though is look, like whether you pass or don't pass a SANS certification, but if you learn something out of the material, you can take that back and better your career or better your work environment, and then kind of do that, train the trainer and like train your peers and your junior analysts. That's a huge win takeaway. And then three, yeah, the education piece of it. I think same thing. I think a lot of organizations for that are it's an HR requirement. Maybe you want to try to get a promotion. You're trying
Yeah.
to get to a certain role that organizations can kind of just be old school and they require that degree to move up to a C-suite level or a management level, but not always the case. And I know you and I both just did, I think recently, the Cyber Defenders CCDL1
Yeah.
kind of walkthroughs and explanations of those too. And I think, as we mentioned, choosing the right certifications, those hands-on certifications to me are such a win-win, because you're killing two birds with one stone. You're not only getting a new certification under your belt, but with those hands-on ones, to actually put hands on keys and like go through a process or use a tool or go into a command line and like you write out prompts and commands that you're kind of get into, puts that repetition that you can now talk on those interviews, trying to break in, being new into cybersecurity. So absolutely.
Nah, look, again, I'm glad that we sort of align in those thoughts when it comes to ranking these. But yeah, the points that you make as well, the education aspect of things has sort of kind of diminished. And once again, who's ever watching this video and is probably thinking that, oh, we should not be doing a degree, you still got to do a degree.
We're not bashing school.
We're not,
definitely.
Exactly.
If you
100%.
if you can attend school and you can afford it, or you're on scholarships, I think you and I can both agree there's benefits on going to school and having
100%, 100%. Yeah.
That piece of it where I would say, folks, like, hey, if you're paying out of pocket for school and you're gonna get $40,000 in debt, I could easily direct you and point you to other better resources than a 4-year degree to break into cybersecurity. If you were to say, hey, I have 40 grand in college credit, but I'm not going to spend it on the college university, where should I place it? Between the two of us, I'm pretty sure we could create a pretty rock star analyst, pen tester, name the position they want with like, hey, yeah, 40 grand, half that's going to stay in your bank account. I have a resume question for you, but I want to ask this one next. The social dork. So can you kind of explain how and why this kind of came around? What made you want to create this YouTube channel, and kind of how you've been giving back to the community? Because once again, I've seen your content, man. You do amazing walkthroughs, amazing kind of explanation videos as well of like how or why someone should do something. So yeah, what's kind of the message behind it?
Look, first of all, thanks for plugging the channel in, and thanks for praising it as well. I mean, it's a pretty funny story because I've sort of done it in phases. So the first time that I ever sort of launched the channel was once again when I was doing my master's degree in Australia. My understanding at the time was I was studying networking, and I just wanted to come up with a way that would help me remember things that I was studying. And I figured this out about myself, is that I sort of remember things better when I teach that to someone else. So what I started doing was I started putting out videos on core networking first, like DNS, VPNs, DHCP. And you won't find these videos on my channel anymore because I've gone ahead and archived them. But this is where I actually started. And that was the whole idea of starting the social dork in the first place. And look, there's a funny story about the name as well, because I wanted something that was exact opposites of each other. Hence social, which is like someone who's pretty social, and dork, which is someone who's like a nerd, basically. So that was also the thinking behind the name. But and then look, after a while, once I finished my master's, I was like, okay, done. I was finding it pretty childish to go on putting videos out there. So I took a break. I was like, okay, that was it. The channel served this purpose. I put videos when I wanted to study, learn, understand. Sort of a break from that helped me realize while I was working that, I actually liked mentoring people. I liked that aspect of being in the community, not just working for someone, but also trying and passing the knowledge down to, let's say, someone who is in the same position as me when I was like there 2 or 3 years ago. So that was the whole sort of motive behind starting the channel back up. And that's when I started. By then, I already started working in network security, cybersecurity. Hence, naturally, the videos that I started putting out took that cybersecurity turn. It's been almost a year and a half, 2 years since I've started posting regularly on the channel and try to build up the social dork community. So yeah, that was the story of how I started the social dork and what the motive was. And today it's just about just growing the channel, getting more people on board, sort of enlarging the social dork cyber community, engaging with creators like yourself, and yeah, just getting to know what are different people's views in the cyber community, cyber domain. And that's pretty much where I'm at.
It's so cool because we have a lot of similarities in how things happened and kind of where they came into be. That's like my YouTube channel was made off of Dare. My friends wanted to make their
okay, interesting.
Mr. Beast had his channels. My friends were like, dude, we should make YouTube channels, and like we should stream and do this. I'm like, okay. So it's like all my friends went and made YouTube channels. I think I'm the only one that probably stuck through with it, but they all went like to do gaming. They were streaming like Diablo and Call of Duty and like all their video games and stuff, which was great because I still played games with them. I was very lucky with my mentorship and finding a way to get into cybersecurity. And I'm sure it's just with the social dork as well. When it comes into your community, there's folks that are looking for that mentorship and guidance on how they can break in and get into these certain roles. So initially, and the name was also somewhat of it was I eventually wanted to be like a pen tester or a hacker. So
Got
GingerHacker
it.
is where
Yeah.
the kind of channel name came from. And pretty much for SEO, it's fantastic because there's not many GingerHacker channels. I wanted to get back to the community and start running this series called Breaking into Cyber, where ideally we just get to talk to folks and kind of get to hear their stories. And as we continue this running series, which is going to run as long as I want it to go, if someone gets to hear your story or hear someone's story, everyone from like tier one help desk to interns to managers, CISO, architects, and they can relate to that story of like, hey, that's kind of how I feel. That's what I'm going to get in. I feel like it's a huge win. And then that's initially how also the nonprofit came around for the GingerHacker initiative, where we're helping folks do scholarships on getting into cybersecurity with mentorships, resume reviews. We do sponsorships for certifications, and we try to help just kind of build up and network that community to help them get their first role in cyber. So super cool. Cause yeah, I feel like it's very similar on kind of what the mission statements are for the channels and for our communities. We're not here to get rich quick. There's no point in this to like be some cyber slumlord. We're really just trying to give back to our communities and to help them kind of get into the field, because we both know how rewarding this field can be. And it's a lot of fun getting to do cyber every day. To me, like I love it. It's such a fun job. It makes you think all the time, with everything always kind of being different every single day on the things you get to attack and kind of deal with every single day. So it's a lot of fun. So I'd say
Yeah. And I don't know what your take is on this as well, but just the fact that it's an ever evolving domain as well, where it's not like it's reached a point where, okay, this is all you do and this is all there is to working in cybersecurity. So before sort of the advent or the boom of AI, I think the way cyber functioned was very different to the way it's looked at today. Not in a bad way, but in the sense that there is so much more that you can do and there's so much to learn, and it just tells you that this sort of domain is not going anywhere. Like the only thing that you can sort of go from here is, okay, maybe specialize into something further. Let's say, for example, an AI SOC analyst path. Maybe that's something which sort of comes up in the next year or 2 years. You never know. And that's also probably one of the beauties of being in the cyber domain.
Yeah, I think with the integration of AI, and I think a lot of companies are trying to get ahead of it, and some companies are just really trying to embrace it. It brings in so many new, both offensive and defensive, and on backends for networks and kind of like automation and dev teams of how and what we're going to allow this access to, how we're going to protect against it, how we're going to defend against it, how can we attack it. And I think, like you said, like, yeah, when it comes into AI entering the workplace, first off, if you're not in AI and you're not entertained with it or trying to learn it, I would challenge you to try to, because I think there are going to be some positions that will heavily leverage AI. Like there's always the rule and like the rumor, oh man, SOC analysts tier ones are going to be replaced by AI. Yeah. I think that's a pro con, because I think they will be replaced by analysts that know how to leverage AI rather than it fully replacing the analyst that doesn't know AI. So, because I'm sure just with the organization as well, even with mine, there's so many limitations of what exactly can be used inside our org with the use of AI. So that's where it's like the hands on keys, eyes on screen are still going to be around, but AI could be a whole nother video, and that could be a whole nother conversation. So
yeah, no, 100%.
Another good question I have for you is, getting to be a manager, you get to probably sit and see a few different types of resumes when you're hiring for your team or your organization. I have a question for you when it comes into when you're getting to review those resumes, whether it's either for an entry level or maybe mid-level resume. Are there certain things you look for that really stand out or make that resume pop that you look for?
Probably what I generally like seeing is two things. The first thing is once again, the hands-on sort of experience or what they've already done. Like, let's say if they've already worked in cyber, what are the things they've worked on? What are the projects they've done? What are some of the deployments they've made within the cyberspace? If they are not already working in the domain, then going back to a point that I made earlier is, okay, all right, you didn't have the opportunity to break in. You still used your time, and with whatever resources you had, what have you done with it? So what home labs you've built, what you've learned, how you've documented it. So the first thing that I always look out for is like the project section on a resume. The second thing, which again probably comes from a little bit of bias, is I like seeing a natural sort of role progression leading up to cybersecurity. I mean, I do know a lot of students, like they want to just enter cybersecurity, like, they study for cybersecurity, they do all of these certifications and try to hit the nail on the head and get a cyber role. But I do somewhere have a soft spot for people that, let's say come up the help desk route, then work as a network
Yeah.
engineer for a year and then transition into cyber, because that tells me, okay, this professional is seasoned. And look, you don't need to even have a lot of years of experience to be able to have that. For me, when I worked, I did 6 months at the help desk, and then I worked as a network engineer for a year and a half. So that's under 2 years of experience before I could break into like a security role, which is still very, I mean, 2 years is still considered to be like junior to associate level sort of experience. So yeah, these are the two things. But the most important thing is hands-on labs. That project section on the resume is what I am looking for. If you've done 3 or 4 good projects and the way you've documented it, let's say you've got like a GitHub link to show evidence of what you've done, what you've learned, sort of documented it in your own words. And today you can already tell when something's built using ChatGPT or using AI.
Yeah.
There's a way that, it's structured. There's a way the language follows.
Yeah. The
But
dashes or something, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Weird dashes and, like very professional, like too professional, no mistakes whatsoever, which is fine. Look, everyone uses ChatGPT to structure and do things, but maybe there should be some section in your GitHub repository or your online evidence repository where you've explained in your own words what you've done, what you've learned, and you should also be able to speak about those projects in your interview. Hands down, hands-on is the most important thing that I look at on the resume.
I think one of the best advice I got from my resume was like, one, if you're leveraging AI to enhance your bullets, there's no shame in it. But I think exactly that, like, make sure it doesn't read too robotic. And then the other piece of it too, make sure it doesn't exaggerate. I've been doing a few resume reviews where I'll talk to some individuals. I'm like, hey, I want you to explain exactly a time during this work role they put a specific bullet that they told me that they leveraged AI to write the resume. And I'm like, hey, so explain to me the scenario, the work environment, or how you get to use X tool or did this project. And it's like, oh, I didn't exactly do that. I did this instead. I'm like, okay, that's where you need to be careful with AI, because it's going to hallucinate inside your resume. It's still because it wants you to stand out and to be the best candidate. But exactly like you said, getting to use your own kind of use case and words and experiences and explain how something happened. One is good repetition for when you're going to get asked on your resume, because I've had several different interviews where they literally just go to my resume like, hey, so explain the time where you've done some automation within XOR or within CrowdStrike. And I need to talk on those stories, which you have to have those stories also prepped. So understand the stories and how and what the bullets actually stand to for your story in the resume. I think you're spot on when it comes into, with a lot of junior folks and those trying to break in, having that home lab section in your resume or that hands-on section of like home projects or like repositories is huge. Because I think, and I've told people in full honesty, I'm like, make a YouTube channel. Have that YouTube channel. If you plan on going to an organization that leverages Splunk, go do Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, or even go into Splunk and create videos doing walkthroughs and explaining your process and your write-ups on how you know how to leverage Splunk. If that interview goes really well, do a simple, humble plug saying, hey, manager, sir, ma'am, here's my YouTube channel. I have several videos on my Splunk instance experience. I can walk you through the process, how I do it. So not only are you showing them, because you have to communicate in your videos, you're showing them your communication skills. Then you can have your GitHub repositories linked to your YouTube video so they can then see your write-ups. And then inside, they can actually see you doing the work on the video so they know you actually know what you're doing. I feel like it's gonna, I keep pushing it more and more because I'm like, I've asked managers, I'm like, hey, if you have a great interview, you get to that point where they're like, hey, if you have any further questions or want to see my experience, go check my YouTube channel. The managers that I talked to, they're like, yeah, you know what? I would probably go check it out. Or so I would ask someone on my team to go see it and just say, hey, go check out this person's YouTube, see what they're about. But I think it's a great use case to actually kind of show those 3 exact things where it's like your write-ups, communication skills, and then actually you doing the job and showing that you can do the work.
Yeah, no, and look, the beauty of what we're speaking about as well is that most of these things are virtually free if you think about it as well. Like as you said, right, like starting a YouTube channel to show your progress is free. Building these home labs is mostly free. Mostly free. Like most of them are open source, free. You can just go ahead and spin something up, build something, learn. Yeah, there are probably a few components depending on what you're trying to do that may incur a fee, but again, it's very minimal. So ideally, there shouldn't be anything holding you back when it comes to building these labs and trying all of this stuff on your own.
Absolutely. Well, now getting off topic from cyber comes the fun questions, which is ideally just exactly that. So when you're not working, not doing YouTube, not doing cyber, what do you like to do for fun? What do you do to unplug, kind of rewind, recharge for the work week?
So, look, I'll be honest, the last sort of year and a half has been very sort of tight and busy with work and YouTube and all of that stuff going on. But I don't know if a lot of people know this about me, but I'm a huge soccer fan or football fan, and I do follow the English Premier League. I support Arsenal, who are top of the table right now, and hopefully go on to win the Premier League. So yeah, I spend whatever free time I have either doing something associated with football or soccer, which is either playing, go out to play with a few of my friends, or the only free time I get is when I watch like an Arsenal game. So that's something I really look forward to. And when they lose is I have the worst week of my life because because that's like one of the things that I do outside of work in YouTube. And when that sort of goes bad, I'm like, ah, shit, man, here we go again.
It
what
ruins the
what
whole
about
week.
you?
Oh man, I have a family. I got a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old to keep me very busy. We got
Oh, beautiful.
gymnastics,
That is the
baseball.
most important thing though.
Oh, absolutely, man. Like I
Good
think
on you, man.
people ask me what my superpower is. I tell them it's pretty much time management because
Mhm.
with work, the military, family, YouTube, first things first, family always comes first. So same thing for those trying
Yeah.
to break into cybersecurity. Make sure your loved ones are the most important. Keep your sanity. These jobs are going to be around. The market can be rough, but your family's always there. So yeah, I try to make time to. We just had gymnastics, and my son has like like the ninja stuff. Like he does like like
Okay.
the ninja gym stuff. So he's like always jumping around and
Got
stuff,
it.
climbing. And then yeah, and just gymnastics and then baseball. And then I'll go to the gym. I play some video games. I'm big right now back in Arc. So Arc's been some my
Mhm.
burning phases right now for the Arc game series for like a survival. Yeah, just a traveling and attending cons, man. I have a CypherCon coming up here in Wisconsin. And then with a lot of my volunteer time, so volunteering, doing my stuff with my nonprofit. Defcon's on its way for August. So planning for Noob Village with Josh Mason over with
That's
Synac.
that's that's pretty big, Defcon.
Have you ever been?
I have never been to Defcon, man. I mean, I've always sort of had this FOMO looking at a lot of cyber creators' LinkedIn posts around Defcon, and nah, I've never been, but hopefully one day.
If you can come this year, man, it'd be fantastic. Check us out at New Village. We'll be there. And if you've never been to Vegas, dude, Vegas is amazing. It's fun to go visit for like 3 days. After 3 days,
Got
you're
it.
like, okay, I'm ready to
No,
go
no,
home. But
it is on the list for probably next year because this year I'm probably going to be traveling elsewhere. But next year for sure, man, and I'm looking forward to
awesome.
probably linking up with you as well in person.
Definitely, man. And as a huge thank you for coming onto the channel and to letting me steal some time away from you, by the way, I will send you the link to pick out some awesome GingerHacker swag as my gift of you getting to come on and let me steal some time away from you. So huge thank you, by the way. And everybody, we have final question we have. But before we do, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. If you're not to this channel, make sure you go over to the Social Dork and also give them a like, comment, subscribe as well. But my last question I have for you
Mhm.
is probably the most important, just best advice you can give folks is what's that last piece of advice that you would give somebody trying to break into cybersecurity?
This is an interesting one because my answer, like a lot of people have asked me this, and my answer changes from time to time. This time around, or probably the phase that I'm in, is probably gonna be don't lose patience too early. Like for example, I was mentoring one student who was trying to get a network security role. It has just been months and months, and they were doing these labs and getting these certifications that were essential to get them into the domain. But yeah, it had been a fair number of months. I would say like 6 to 8 to 9 months even, where they were not getting any interview calls, nothing was working out. And look, they're also going to doubt you, and there's going to be frustrations that, hey, you're trying to guide me get into like a role that I want to be in, but nothing's working out for me right now. And I would always say this to that person, that just trust me, just be in there, get stuck in, do what you're doing. Sometimes it takes time. You've just got to make sure that consistency, like you keep hitting with consistency, and you're sort of hustling in trying to get that first role of yours. So that is one advice. If someone's trying to get into cyber, don't quit too early. It's not like you study, you do a few certifications, you do 2 or 3 home labs, and within 3 or 4 weeks, you've gotten a job. Yes, it
Yeah.
does work out like that for some people, but for majority of whoever I've worked with and spoken to, it does take time. So give yourself some time. Don't go too hard on yourself. As Andrew mentioned, do things outside of just trying to obsessively break into cyber as well. Spend time with your family. Family comes first. Do things outside, recreational stuff. Don't make this the only goal of your life. While it's great and
Yeah.
amazing to be a part of, give it time, be consistent, and yeah, don't rush it, man. Just, it will happen when it has to happen. You do the right thing. That's all.
Fantastic advice. Well, everybody, As always, another amazing episode of Breaking into Cyber. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you're staying tuned as we continue our series in 2026. And if you're going to be in Wisconsin for CypherCon, we will see you there. And as always, we'll catch you on the next video.